Culture matters, but does it really? Let me explain. I'm sure you've all heard the expressions about culture that each strategy for lunch, that culture is everything. We've seen examples of where culture has catapulted the success of startups to be Fortune 500 companies and is a key part of the history of so many meaningful organizations that have done tremendous things. But when we look at research across industries done by firms like ourselves, empirical research by scholars, we see that only about 20% of employees feel a strong connection to the culture. That's a huge missed opportunity. And if we're looking at that missed opportunity and how we can make it better, I would argue that we start with the beginning, a very good place to start, right? So let's start with onboarding experience. Onboarding, of course, includes a lot of logistical, compliance, legal components, but it's also can be referred to as the process of where we take someone who is an outsider to the organization, that candidate that's accepted an offer, to being a fully contributing, confident member of the organization, that they have that sense of belonging and are fully contributing. And the key part of that is the first 90 days. And during that first 90 days, we know that new hires have a tremendous uh, sense of uncertainty. We've studied this and we know that they feel that they have a vision of what work will likely be like. They know that that vision is probably going to be wrong in some ways, but they don't know exactly how. What's going to fall short of expectations. They're kind of bracing themselves to, avoid those pitfalls, make sure that everything goes smoothly, and hoping that they can get what they need out of this work experience. And so culture in that way is a powerful tool to help mitigate some of that uncertainty. And when done well, we know that we can see up to 4 times or higher intentions to refer from our own research. We've seen that, as well as multitudes of increases in engagement across the entire employee life cycle. Our first months, our first year forms the foundation of everything that we think and feel and do for the organization. And so when that falls short or is wobbly, it's going to be difficult, for months and years to come, as I'm sure many of you have likely had a situation where you've had to recover an employee from a situation where they didn't have the strongest leadership or experience during their first months on a job. So, my goal is to always share a few tactical things that you could do to make things better that are realistic. And so first of all, think about your training process from day one, your first month training. How are they learning? How are new employees learning, breathing, starting to immerse themselves in the culture? If there isn't direct culture training, or if it's something as simple as, these are our values and someone talking for 10 minutes about it, how could we make it more immersive, where they're engaging in it more, where it's a stronger experience to guide learning? We also know we're fighting the forgetting curve, right? So the Ebbinghaus curve, where within one day we've forgotten about 50% of information, and within a week we only remember about 25%. So if we're talking about the whole 90 days, that key first 90 days, as well as the first year on the job, what are a constellation of touch points that we can realistically execute where we're getting people engaged with the culture on a regular basis? Of course, this will be easier if leaders are using our culture and leading through it. So they're applying it to things that are happening on the job, successes, setbacks. They're using that cultural language to teach and coach and support everyone on the job. All of this is going to be magnified. But what are some special touch points we could have for new employees to start to learn and apply the culture? One thing that we do and that we've also implemented for some of our clients is monthly feedback, or 30, 60, 90-day feedback. You've probably heard of that before, for new employees. And so we call our new employees on our team teammates. And so if we have a new member of our team and I'm their leader, I will just casually go and check in with people that are working with that new teammate and what projects are happening, how are things going. But the key thing is that when I have that conversation with a teammate, I will frame everything in terms of our team promises, which is our way of talking about the commitments that we have, the shared commitments we have to one another: clear direction, support for success, belonging, fun, and walk through that with them, as well as other, if there's anything that falls into core functional pieces of the job. And that's a powerful way connecting information that's observed by others, their feedback, and connecting it to that person's area of ownership as a new employee. So making it having these programs that are consistent, regular, expected, as well as within an environment where we're using the cultural language. Some other things that you can do is really making sure you're doing different levels of storytelling during the training process. So that training that they're likely going to have within the first week or so on the job, in addition to sharing your mission and vision, showing that through the some of the meaningful successes and failures, the critical successes and failures that your organization has had, and then going step level down and maybe having people talk about real life examples of how these values came to play on an everyday basis, and then going into some of the mindsets that are helpful that drive success on the job, behaviors. So that way it's not just an initial uh here module here or there, but you're covering everything from very macro level. This is our vision, this is how historically this has been important, this is how it's come to life in operations, and here is what we need from you so you can go down this journey with us together. So, with that in mind, we welcome you to enjoy some of the resources that we've prepared this month for around culture and training. It truly is one of the greatest opportunities and one of the strongest ways, if there's a culture gap, to start closing that gap. It seems like, given the research out there, that if you're not monitoring, if you're not intentional about your culture, that only about 20% are going to, really connect with your culture and your core beliefs and feel that strong connection to it. And training is just such a meaningful way to bring everything together and set everyone off on a powerful foundation right from the beginning, from day one.